Have you asked the question of what is it going to take to maybe repair the things that need to go in my house? And is it worth you fixing? Or maybe you have a house that has work and you don't know where to start or even think about the necessary things. So welcome back to my channel, Living and Investing Bryan College Station. And we have invested over 100 properties or more between me and my team and have analyzed more. So I want to give you some of the core 6 things that we think about when we look at houses real similar to this and let you know if you want to fix it or how to start thinking about it. Let's go take a look at it. Welcome back to my channel, Living and Investing in Bryan College Station. And today we're focusing a little bit on the investment side, but also living. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe as we drop videos every week. And if you have questions or want to comment, make sure you comment below so that we can answer your specific questions as you look at these houses. So as a real estate investor, I have always enjoyed the process of what it takes to maybe do work on property, but also I realize certain people get to a point where they say, how much is too much work that I don't want to deal with this house? Or if you say, I need to know what to do if I'm starting to want to make repairs to this house and see if it's even worth it. And so between me, my mentor, and our team, we have analyzed several deals, and I'm just going to talk to you about the 6 things just in this house and any house that you look at. And I promise you, this will at least give you the forefront thinking of, okay, I can do this, or this is going to be too much for me. And then from there, we'll give you a step at the very end. So if you know you're very curious or you're having these thoughts or you're having these curiosities, make sure you stay tuned to the end because I want to make sure I can give you solutions or some good free resources so that you can continue to elevate your thinking. So welcome back to my channel. And we're going to take a look at this house as an example as what are the things that someone who is looking at these type of houses, apartments, or whatever you're looking at, and help you get better at determining or what I need to do the work. All right, let's take a look at it. Okay, so the first thing you need to look at when you're looking at some of these houses is number one, the foundation. So the foundation either will be pier and beam or slab. Now, pier and beam means that it has a crawl space underneath it. And most of the time you have ACs, depending on what year the house is made. And the AC maybe will run underneath there. Sometimes it can run in the attic. But the foundation, I believe, is the number one thing you need to look at because foundation work can go anywhere in between minimum maybe $5,000 to $10,000 if you're very hands-on, or it can cost an upper of over $50,000 or more. And then you say, okay, well, how do I know if I need to mess with it? Well, number one, if you know you don't have well over $10,000, you need to say, okay, I need to let somebody else take over this. But then what are some signs or indicators of the house and knowing what to think of? And so I'm going to walk around and just say, hey, this is at least worth looking into when you're looking at pyramid homes. And also if the house is generally older than 1978 and you know no one has done the work on it, you have kind of those roller coaster feelings throughout the house, that's something to really consider. Or just to say, hey, I want to get this looked into or get a quote on this because this could cost me very minimum $10,000 or more. All right. So kind of take a look at a couple things or hints that can help you on a foundation. So as you are looking at foundational things, you can sometimes find some dips into the ceiling. Sometimes you have cracks in the walls, like these cracks, 100% not certain. And to be honest, I'm not a certified foundation person. I've just walked enough property to say, all right, hey, well, I got a couple spots where, hey, we need to check out. So, and then I got some spots that are a little bit higher. And sometimes that means the floor have had work done to it. And that can be a good thing because it can save you costs and you just need to know. Now, how do you know if you have pier and beam, generally you'll know just for the year, but typically underneath the house, you'll see a space where you can get underneath it. And if the whole house is half foundation, crawl space where you can get underneath. So all this can be removed and you can go underneath the actual house. So that is one indicator of if you have a pier beam, and also like when you walk inside, when it comes to those things or items that maybe need to be repaired. So you can find like little spots like that and you say, hey, well, let's at least get this looked into, because this is sometimes can be the most costly work that needs to be done. All right. Okay, so the next thing is the AC unit. Now, most of the time when you look at your house, you know AC units can last minimum 5 years if they're not really well be taken care of. And I've seen ACs last for up to 20 years. And so generally, it may need a coil that needs to be replaced. The whole AC unit needs to be replaced. It's a lot of different things that you need to take in consideration. But also, if you have a house and you're like, I don't even know if this is a good AC unit or not. One cool trick that I've seen work with majority of the AC units that we look at is we can look at a serial number to see generally the first 2 weeks, the first two numbers can be the week, and then the next two numbers can be the year that the AC unit was made. Now be careful, because just because that is the year of the AC unit, that AC unit could have been sitting in storage for a certain amount of time before it was installed. So that's not 100% of the chance that that's always going to be accurate, but at least give you an indicator of when the AC unit was at least made, and then you compare that to the house and say, well, is this at least updated with the house? If it's a 1970 house and then you see it was AC unit from 2008, well, you know they've changed the AC unit at least once. So that updates has been made, okay? So that's the AC unit. Now, what's this behind me? I want you to say it with me. It's a water heater. It's not a hot water heater. Water in here right now is not hot. So I can touch this. It's not hot. The object of these would be water heater. So just a little history there. But you ask yourself, okay, hey, water heater. Is it updated? Now this one here, I can tell has been updated, and you can look at the manufacturer on this one. It looked like it was 2019 when this one actually built. So this house is number one, not built in 2019. So I know this has been at least updated. Very recent is 2014. So a little bit over 5 years when it comes to this water heater. Now, once again, water heaters can also exist in storages where someone maybe had it somewhere for at least a year, oftentimes. Sometimes it can be longer, and that's why someone's going to install your new water heater, ask you the question like, hey, where do you get this water heater from, and how long has it been sitting, just to make sure it's functioning. But then also, water heaters can last up to 10 to 15 years. And once again, have I seen some water heaters that last longer than that? Absolutely. And you'll see it corroding, and it's not as up to date like this one will be. The water heaters can vary, cost at minimum $500. Sometimes it can be more. Now you have electric water heaters and you have gas water heaters, and that just really depends on what area or neighborhood you're in. Sometimes certain neighborhoods are older, or even if they're newer, that does not always mean that you're going to have a water heater that is a gas. But often people who have older homes have gas water heaters. Now, sometimes you can update that accordingly. That could get it a little bit more costly if you're looking to switch from gas to electric or vice versa. It's very rare you hear someone wants to switch to a gas water heater. Most of the time they want to switch from gas to electric for just conveniences of all electric in the house, especially if this is a rental house, you want to think about it from that perspective. But so water heaters, I think out of all of them could be the least a costly thing out of them, but also signs if it needs to be updated. Now this water heater looks perfectly fine and looks pretty updated, does have power, but not hot water heater, it's a water heater. Okay, let's take a look at the next. Now, this hallway doesn't have light, so we're going to make the best out of this area. But next is the furnace. So the furnace is generally what heats your house. Sometimes this is a combined unit. It's really more the older houses. Um, and sometimes it's separate, but you have the furnace. Generally, it's going to be in these smaller closets in a hallway on older homes. And sometimes you find them in the attic on updated and brand new houses. And one really just the year of these, furnaces, if good, 15 to 20 years can be able to last. So um, when it comes to cost of a furnace, just reference to some of the search that we put up here on the screen because I want to be careful of when it gets to this, we have professionals that come out and they look at these things and I have learned to trust some of my team and let them tell me what needs to be done instead of me having to be the expert at a lot of these things. So the furnace, we very, very, very rarely have had to do any work to. So one thing about the furnace is you need to make sure that you're changing out the filters on furnaces. This is where if you allow for a lot of blockage to come up, it will have further issues that eventually you have to replace the whole furnace. So just keep in mind, this is why oftentimes people, just depending on the year of the furnace, if you have like an older one that needs to be replaced as far as the filter wise, make sure that is done. But most of the most updated models don't have it. So it just really depends on the year of it. But that's how you can eliminate costs in future when it comes to furnace. So furnaces can be one of those things in summary on this part where depending on the year of the house, it could be in the attic or it can be in other spots. So like for this house, it's a home like in the 1970s, 80s. So it's always in the area where it's in the hallway. Next is the electricity. Now, electricity, it's very hard for you to know, hey, is this electrical box still good, and how do I know if it's updated or what are the things I can at least troubleshoot or look at on the outside of the house. So first thing I'm going to try to see, is this an updated box? Now a lot of these boxes have been put in within the last 10 to 20 years, just depending on the age of the house, obviously. So I've seen anything that's been in 1970 won't have some of these updated boxes. But then two, you can use this in combination of the one on the inside. So I would say that this electricity box has been updated. And some things that I found out that number one, the city itself have certain metrics. So let's say that if you know the electricity has been off for a certain amount of time, what I found out is that if your electricity has been off 6 months or longer, then you need to update the electricity because the city is not going to come out and allow you to do any work unless you are up to date or up to code. So the code can change, but if your utilities and a lot of the house have been functioning well, that house or whatever you're looking at could have not been up to code, but it's still functioning. So that can be for the electricity and a lot of other things. So where you know if you need to update it, if you are having a lot of electrical issues with the house, or when you're just looking at it and you realize, all right, well, I've I've had to find workarounds to get energy here, energy there, and that's an indicator like, okay, this electrical work I need to get looked into. But then also, if you're looking at a house that the electricity has been off at least a certain amount of months, and you have to go through the utility company to get the electricity back on, chances could be that if it's an older home, it needs to be brought up to code. So that could be an expensive thing. Now, what I've seen, at the very least, $5,000 when it comes to updating electricity, sometime higher. Now, you have people who are handy people who can do it themselves. To be honest, when you are getting to real specific things like this, you want to make sure someone is a professional is going to come in so you don't have any future issues, or you don't have permitting or people doing work that's not legal. And you're getting to the point where you're like, oh man, I'm going to have issues down the line. The one thing I've realized is that when you have work that needs to be done on these things that I'm talking about in this video, you need to be very careful because even though it may be very inexpensive on the front end, it could cost you more on the back end. So what we've learned to do is anytime these things are done, pay a professional, a qualified individual to do the work because you won't have any issues back then. And oftentimes they have warranties that if something does come up, you can be able to fix it. Next is the roof. So as you can see, this roof is in pretty decent condition. Oftentimes, like discolor or fading of the roof can tell you like if it's been there for a couple of years, but generally roofs could last from 20 to 30 years. Now, this is a shingle roof and metal roof. Those are the ones that we have the most experience with. And cost could be anywhere from very minimum, depending on like where you live and if you're doing it yourself, $5,000. It can be up to $20,000, depending on the size roof that you actually have. So keep in mind with as well trees. So if you have trees that's right above your roof, you may have branches that all go over the roof. So you need to think of cutting back the trims, cutting back the limbs to the tree so that that won't deteriorate the age of the roof. So you can see this house they've done a good job of make sure to trimming any limb that will go over the roof so that just preserve the roof. So what happens is if the roof is in a condition that is not good, then over time it can last for 20 to 30 years. But if you have those issues and you have a lot of trees that's over your roof, then that could decrease the efficiency or if you need to replace the roof. So if you have something like that over your house and you're just getting it, or you say, hey, what are the things I need to do to prevent my roof from deteriorating? Well, let's make sure you cut the trims back so that you could get the maximum outcome of your roof. So the last thing of those top items is the plumbing. Now, plumbing is off, meaning the water is not currently on in this house that we're in right now. So that number one could be a sign or an indicator if someone's going through foreclosure or if this house is a winterized and they turned it off or they just not paid the utility. But the things that we constantly look at on water is like if it's on, we'll turn it on and we'll walk throughout the house to see if it's any leakage or anything that's obvious. Because when it comes to plumbing, we also rely on some of the professionals that we have brought in and trust their judgment on that. But if it's nothing to the eye, getting an inspection on some of these houses, even if you're not selling, because you can also get a little bit better indicator on if you need to spend more energy and effort. And inspections generally cost $200 to $300. Like we have all these people that we can give you in reference to, or give or take if you just want to get rid of it, we take care of yourself. So all that to say, number one, if you're someone who says, okay, I don't want to do none of this. This is exactly what I thought. My house is going to cost more, and I'm trying to find the most efficient way to be able to get rid of this house. You can be able to visit us at our site below, Sold Home Solutions, where we come in, buy these houses for you so you can be able to have peace of mind and transition to whatever it is. Was it foreclosure? Was it family issues? You just don't have the capacity to take care of some of these things, or maybe you just don't want to go through the normal process of buying homes. And our team have done this at a point where it could get you to get into your next home or situation better. So some home solutions basically exist so that you can have solutions on whether you just need to go fast or you need to try to get the max effort and fix some of these things before we sell it. We have all those options. So make sure you visit us below or schedule a time and I can go more in depth. And also, if you're like, hey, I want to fix this and make sure cash flow, download my free cash flow sheet at the very bottom. But thank you for watching this video. Thank you for taking out the time to say, hey, what do I need to do? I don't need to do it because I don't want to fix things like that, or I'm willing to fix it. And thank you for giving me an idea of cost. So obviously, when you have walls and other things like that piles up, I would say you could save $5,000 or less in getting some of these things fixed. Probably even less than that, to be honest with you. So those things don't scare us. But if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe or comment what you like and what you didn't like as well, so that we can see how to continue to improve on the investment side for our people who tune in to all our videos. But thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.